Hello, and welcome to the Bold Leadership Story Show, where we chat with leaders about their experiences that have shaped their exceptional lives. And today, I've got an exceptional leader who's done some amazing work in her field, Heidi Simmons. And Heidi has spent the last about 20 years in the Temecula Valley. She's been really working hard helping women with cancer, family estrangement issues, new life transitions, and helping people get back on track. She's also a Reiki healing practitioner and an end-of-life coach. And she's working on a new program called Hospice. Hospice?
Hospice. You got it right.
Hospice? Okay.
Yes,
I'd like to, we'll get into that a little bit today. And your tagline for that is the end is just the beginning.
correct.
And it's for those who are afraid to die, preparing them for their greatest journey. Wow. And that your most proud accomplishments in life thus far are three wonderful children, all entrepreneurs.
Yes,
They all fell off. That acorn doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
I hope not, or hope, yes, that's true. In
That's true.
this case,
Yeah,
it is, yes.
that's true for sure. So with what you're doing now, Heidi, what do you love about it?
That's a powerful question.
Oh,
And
we're going to start with a bang here. I'm
wow,
just curious. As I was reading over your bio, it was like there's so much there that you've done, helping people and accomplishing things that we'll get into here in a bit. But the work that you're doing right now is heartfelt and hard. It's
okay.
difficult. And I'm wondering, empathizing in myself, if I were to put myself in that position that you're in, that it would be, I'd really have to love it. So I'm curious to see what it is that you love about it. What drives you?
It's real simple. It's before and afters. Now, like when a woman has no makeup on, and then she puts on makeup, she looks great. Or the house is all dirty and then you clean it. I love before and afters. And though I'm simplifying this, serving people, I think is what I'm all about. But when I go into a room or I'm on a telephone call as a life coach, and that person is in a really gray area in their life, it's dark. They're facing some pretty hard issues, like maybe cancer, a husband that walked out on them, a child that just died, a child that's in recovery, they're in recovery. Just, there's just so many things going on. But at the end of that hour, that phone call or that in-person meeting, if I can leave them better than where I found them, and just leave them and they're happier or they're not thinking, dark thoughts anymore, that's what I love. That's what fills me up from the inside out.
Hmm. So, yeah, that must be difficult. I've had a couple of occasions to have participated in hospice, and there's it's a mixed blessing. There's joy and there's sadness, and there's um, healing and forgiveness and tons of emotion.
Right. And right now, I'm not really into the hospice area. Someday I will be, hopefully in the
Okay.
future.
Are you moving? Is that what the Hospice is about?
Right. That's the missing piece to me for hospice. It's non-medical. Where hospice is medical, it's to mostly relieve your pain and suffering.
Okay.
And though they have a spiritual aspect, like a chaplain or a reverend or a rabbi will come in and talk to that person. Uh, when people are faced with death, there are usually three things. There's the area, and they can have all of these or just one of these. But
Hmm.
one could be that they fear suffering. They don't want to be in pain. The second thing is they could have lots of regrets. They want do-overs.
Mm.
And the third is that the thought of them just like being here now and then going to nothing, like blackout, fade out, and there's nothing on the other side or there's nothing to go to, terrifies them. That's the people that I want to be with, those that are afraid of dying because they believe there is no afterlife or there is no eternity.
Well, what's important? Help me understand then. Why is it important for them to have reconciliation with their fear as they move to the next spot?
Okay.
They pass away or they transition, however you want to say it.
Because of all the fear they feel during those weeks and months, if I could take that away from even one person
Mm,
with hospice, I that's what I want to do. But I see it as a national movement. So in other words, mom's dying, or she's verbal. She's not nonverbal, but she's verbal, and she's dying, and she's not afraid of the pain. She doesn't even want to be medicated really, and
mm,
she doesn't have any regrets. She thinks she's done everything she could as a mother, wife, friend, or whatever, but she's terrified of just nothingness and black.
mm.
So I go in, and what I do is I start with scripture readings depending on her faith. It's like a non-denominational. Hospice would be for any faith.
Okay, that's comforting.
Okay, and I would talk to them whether they're a Buddhist, a Muslim, Jewish, Christian, or whatever. We would talk about scriptures that say that there is an eternity or an afterlife. Okay,
Hmm.
then I would do guided imagery. Now that's not meditation. That's actually making them, when they relax, how it would feel from after I'm an avid reader, and you just see my spiritual library. So it's, what does it feel like actually when the soul leaves the body? What happens when the silver cord is cut? Who comes for you? What's it like? You know, then there's, I would read them readings from scientists and doctors and lay people who've actually gone to the other side, near-death experiences, NDAs,
Mm.
and what they experience, that there is life on the other side. So by the time I got done with them, they'd be good to go. They wouldn't have that fear.
Awesome. Well, that's good. That's a good feeling. So you've mentioned during our brief conversation so far, regret a couple of times already. Tell me about their experiences with people experiencing that,
Okay,
having that
yes.
feeling of regret.
I sum it up as shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Okay.
I should have done this. I would have done that. I could have done that. It's like, why didn't I stay home with my children more when I was divorced instead of like going out on weekends and dates? Why didn't I plan a family vacation for them? Why did I divorce their father and not just, hang in there? I didn't know that he was going to die at an early age anyway. Or what did I do that my children walked out on me? My adult children want nothing to do with me. Or how could I have let a friend down so much and I was not there when she really needed me? Or on and on and on. Just
Mm.
regrets. They're all different.
How do you help people work through that? Or do you?
Yes. Well, I do that in life coaching, not on their deathbed, but during life coaching. And it's
Okay,
like,
that's a better place to deal with that.
well, yeah. And I mean, on your deathbed, if that's where you are when it happens, I'll be there. But okay. So I'm with, especially women. I do men on occasion, but mostly I'm with women right now.
Uh-huh.
And they have all these regrets. And what I tell them is, you did absolutely wonderful with what you had to work with at that time in your life with your knowledge. You did everything you were supposed to do. Looking
Mm.
back now, if, that's why, cars have rear view mirrors, so you can
Mm.
see and, can look back and see what's coming. But in life, we don't come with rear view mirrors. You know,
Right.
hindsight is better than, foresight is better than hindsight, or vice versa in some cases. But what I'm saying is that if you knew what you knew now, then it might have been a different outcome.
Mm.
This is your journey. So don't have regrets. But in all these experiences, there's a gold nugget. So what did you get out of that that can help you the next time you face something similar? So, turning a negative into a positive. But actually what a life coach does, and I just want to say, which is different than a therapist,
Uh-huh.
therapists are marvelous, but they usually say, will you tell me, the answer's inside of you. And not that the answer is inside of the clients that I coach, but they also want tools. Like recently, I got a mother and a daughter back together that weren't speaking for years.
Mm.
And the mother didn't know what to say or what to do. And by giving her a script and coaching her, she followed it, and they're together now. I just got recently, even more recent, I got a woman back with her sister. Why it was so important that they talk is because she wants to move to her state and have her remaining years there. But if she wasn't welcome, she wasn't going to go. And now she's looking for places to live there.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, putting families back together is awesome. So you have a quote here that it says Heidi Simmons believes that what you create in your mind, you create in the world around you. So
300% with
where,
God's help. I have to say, with God's help.
how did you come up? How did you come to this, I guess, opinion, and how is it applied in your life?
Well, I raised all my three children on the premise of and this, it sounds kind of old school now, but there's no such thing as I can't, just I'll try.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I say that all the time. I can't do this. I can't do that. Yes, you can. Yeah.
But, like at these, like I always say that, there's no such thing as a mistake. Edison
Yeah, it's
did
just a
not,
learning experience.
yeah, did not take 3,000 times to make the light bulb work. He just found out 2,999 ways it didn't work.
Exactly.
Anyway, there's no such thing as, so imagine going through life and thinking that you could try anything. And if you really believed in yourself and that it could work, you could do it. Well, I'm here to tell you that this is true because
Okay.
I never went to,
Where's the evidence for that in your life?
well, it started, I grew up very poor, shared a bedroom with two other siblings. Okay. And how I fell asleep at night was to peel the old paint off, the bubbly paint off the walls. We grew up very poor
What would
in Ohio.
so why would you, just for like something to occupy yourself?
Mhm.
Why were you peeling the paint off? Just for something to do?
Yeah, I'd like to kind of quiet my mind.
Like today you might have your cell phone, your smartphone, and you're playing solitaire or something. It's the equivalent of that.
Uh, yes,
Okay.
yes, okay. Now
But
back,
you were poor. How many brothers and sisters?
I had one brother, one sister.
So you were the middle child.
One went on to when she got married, her husband gave her funds. She went on to become a registered nurse. My brother is a professor. He has several PhDs and a professor in Oregon at a university.
Okay.
So, I mean, and he got monies from my father, but that's a long story. I didn't have any monies and I went on and got married very young,
Mm-hmm.
my kids. And without a college education, it was a time where women were starting to go out and work, and I wanted to work.
Okay. So that
So,
you were all up for that.
so this is what happened to me. There was a job at a Holiday Inn. They were looking for a sales manager, but you had to have 2 years of experience. I had none. I had sales background, like retail, but I had no sales manager experience.
Okay.
I got the job over other people that had sales experience, and the woman general manager said the reason she hired me is because she said uh, uh, that I told her that I will bring in new people. I will bring in new companies to this hotel. I will bump up your corporate. I will meet all my goals. And she said, I believed you, Heidi, even though you never did that. Okay, so I went on to become a sales manager, went on to become a director of sales, went on to open many new hotels under different flags of hotels. And all the time during that period, I
Mm-hmm.
was like on the board of directors of Saddleback College, or I was on Wish, for the Saddleback Hospital. I endowed a funding for scholarships. I got J.C. Penney to give 20,000 a year to students graduating in Orange County, et cetera, et cetera. So I had so much
Wait,
fun.
wait, wait. Let's back up a
Oh,
second. You're going quick. I just
okay.
want to make sure I understand all
Yeah.
this. This is a single gal You're single at this point still? No, or are
Oh
you
yeah, I'm
married?
sorry. I was then divorced, and I was at this point on my own raising a 5-year-old.
So single mom, and you had no college degree,
No.
and you have you go in and you get you convince a hiring manager to hire you with no experience really. Uh,
Mhm.
and then you basically tear it up, just excel up the company ladder, get into big corporate responsibilities. And as you're doing that, you're on boards and raising money for charities and doing massive, adding massive value to the community, it sounds like. What was driving you? What was giving you the inspiration to do all that? I mean, that you don't read that in a book and say, well, this is the roadmap for Heidi to be successful. What what drove you?
I just wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make people's lives better. I wanted to help people and those people that couldn't help themselves.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do. And I took my love of volunteering, if you will, when I was at the hotels. And I actually went and got a new position. Became the business community manager for Goodwill Industries of Orange County, people with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an amazing time in my life. It was really exciting. But again, I want to tell people out there, I didn't have a college degree. The person that walked out before I walked in to interview for the position had a master's. And this woman did not get the position, and I did. And the woman that hired me said to me, I just believe, Heidi, you're the one that we need for this job. Now, and I just want to show you, after that, I kind of worked my way out of a job. I reached all my goals or whatever. So then I applied to be a director of faith-based outreach for Eight Services Foundation. They wanted you to have, they wanted you to have a degree in divinity. Well, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a degree in divinity. I went to
Makes sense.
I got the job they knew I didn't have a degree in divinity. I didn't even have a college degree, but they gave me the position. And that made me feel, okay, I can do other things. So from there, I just felt, if I believed that I could do it and nobody said you can't do it, then why not do it? And so, like, when all the areas in Orange County were unincorporated, there was no
Mm-hmm.
city of Irvine or city of Rancho Santa Margarita. They wanted to somehow get all the mayors and city councils talking. So I came up with this idea through the South County Chambers of Commerce to do a regional cities ball. And they go, well, where would you have it? And I said, well, at the Ritz-Carlton, that's our best hotel, one of our best. And who would you have the key speaker? Well, the president of Disneyland. And anyway, that's still going on today, this regional cities mall. I mean, eventually the unincorporated areas became cities. But
Mm-hmm.
the reason I'm mentioning this again is it's like, I just want to tell people out there, like, I've written greeting cards for a faith-based greeting card company. I
Mm-hmm.
had my own store in San Juan called The Buzz. And I would give out pewter pins to everybody that came in and said, believe you can do anything you want to do. I had that store for about 3 years till the center was sold and I couldn't afford, rent there anymore. But
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying, it doesn't matter what I'm doing in life. If I believe that I can, I go for it. And that's
Wow.
the message. When you told me, I'm just saying your program is thought leaders, that I just thought it just resonated with me, Jim, because it's like, oh my gosh, if there were nobody around, like, say, our generations growing up, our children today, like your grandchildren, and
Mm.
said, you can't do that. But of course you can do that if you want to. What would the world be like?
Oh, I can't imagine. I've had the same experiences in similar, not the same, but similar experiences. And I believe that, that all of that what you can believe and conceive in your mind, you can achieve. I read those words when I was in my 20s,
Yeah.
and I've put them to work in my life, and they're very powerful.
Very.
Yeah, and the Think and Grow Rich. So,
Yes.
so it's, it's, I think from listening to you, there's no secrets to your, success. It's about applying with confidence what you know and believing that you can achieve great things. And then saying, why not? Let's just try, let's give us our best.
And I know this isn't politically correct to say this, but
That's okay. I love non-political correct stuff.
okay. But the frosting on my cake is that if God is for you, who is against you? In other words, I couldn't have had this journey unless God was by my side saying, you can do
Mm.
it, Heidi. You can do it. Have you ever heard the story about the frogs?
Tell me the story about the frog.
Okay. There's all these frogs and they live on a pond. And in the
Okay.
center of the pond, there's kind of a gloppy old kind of mountain.
Mm.
Well, one day the king of the frogs falls over dead. So now there's no king. Okay.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so the frogs, they're looking at each other like, who's going to be the king? Who's going to be the king? And they said, well, we got to find a solution. We got to have a contest for them. We need a king. So one guy says, I know, we'll have every frog that wants to be king climb the top of that mountain in the center of our pond. And whatever frog gets to the top and stays there, he's our new king. Well, they just thought that was a great idea. So they said, okay, anybody wants to be king? Ready, set, go. And so all the frogs start to climb this mountain, and there's frogs on the base that are not wanting to be king, but they're cheering them on. But they're saying, "Oh, you'll never make it. Oh, that slope is too slippery. Oh, you're gonna lose your footing." And but this one frog, he keeps on going very slowly and methodically up the mountain. And the other frogs are dropping off like flies, these frogs, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
and they're, you're never going to make it. It's too steep. It's too slippery. So finally, this one frog makes it to the top. Everybody cheers him. He comes down, and now they're walking. And his friend is helping the frog, like just saying congratulations, is walking next to him. And this little frog starts to pull on the other frog's like jacket. And he
Mm-hmm.
says, excuse me, but I have to ask you a question, sir. And the frog, the frog that's next to the other frog says, no, son, no, no. And he goes, I have to ask you this question, how did you get to the top of the mountain when everybody else fell off? How come you just kept going and going and going and going? And his friend turns around, who's standing next to the king now. The friend turns around and says to the little frog in back of him, son, I'm sorry, he can't hear you. He's deaf. So the king, the frog that made it to the top of the mountain, was deaf. He couldn't hear the naysayers.
Mm.
Okay. So what if we couldn't hear the naysayers?
Wow. Powerful. That's powerful. What if we couldn't hear the naysayers? So you, in effect, listen to your own inspiration and your own drumbeat instead of listening to the naysayers. I'm sure if you're anything like me, you've had really great people in your life and some people that, I think family most of the time when they tell you that you can't do something, they're trying to be loving about it and not in trying to protect you from a disappointment.
You know what a life coach would say about that?
Yeah. What?
People that love you or good friends that say you
Uh-huh.
can't do that, it's not because they're trying to be protective most of the time at all. I mean, unless, you're telling me you want to bungee jump and you're 98 and they're saying no. Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a reason. But I mean, like, they're just saying, well, at this time I want to write a book, or I want to go to Somalia and dig wells or something. And no, you can't. It's their fear,
Mm.
their protection. It's how they feel. They're afraid. They're fearful. So they put that on you. They would be too fearful to do that. They couldn't possibly do that, but they can't. It's hard for them to process that, so they just say to you, "You shouldn't do that," or "No, that's too risky," or they'll give you reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The real reason most of the time is they're afraid they couldn't do it themselves.
Ah, so they're protecting themselves by saying that, those
They're
things.
not actually, they're not facing their fears. They're not even facing themselves. In other words, you're kind of way ahead of the pack because you're talking about doing something. There's an old Chinese proverb, which I love, that says, if the person who says it can't be done, please get out of the way of the person who's doing it.
Mm. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a fear thing. That's what it is. Not sometimes it can't be valid. I'm sure it could be, like I said, if you're wanting to try out new wings and jump off a building and they're telling you, no, those Teflon wings aren't going to get you to safety, they might be valid. But I mean, a lot of times when you're telling them about a dream you have and they tell
Mm.
you that you can't do it, it's their fear. It has nothing whatsoever to do with you.
That's interesting. I've heard at various times that some people advise you when you have a dream that you broadcast it. Or you have a goal, you say, you tell people about it. And that holds, in effect, puts you out there as making that statement and that you're going to accomplish something. And then if you don't do it, it's embarrassing. But they tell you to do it, and the embarrassment is supposed to be motivation for you to get the job done. Okay. But then the other school of thought was what you just said, where you want to keep it to yourself because you don't want to listen to the to the negative.
Well, no, I didn't say, well, let me just say, I didn't say keep it to yourself. And I wanted to explain that. We
Okay.
all have our core group of people that we go to. Okay, for me, for example, my sister, she's 3.5 years older than me. I can bounce off anything I want off of Mady. Brilliant
Mhm.
mind, but she's nurturing and loving.
Okay.
Okay.
So
My
you know her personality.
Oh yeah. But
Yeah,
she's proved her, I mean, I know who she is through and through. We're
sure.
best friends. Okay. My older daughter, Monica, brilliant mind. She approaches it from a different way, but she's always encouraging. Mom, if you say you can do it, you can do it.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, Now, who else would be in my core group? I have a friend named Tom who lives in Orange County. I bounce a lot of things off of him. He approaches it for a very analytical way, but he thinks anything that I do, he's like rah rah. He's in my camp. He's one of my cheerleaders, and there are several other people, but they're my core group. I go to them, but from each one, I get something different.
Okay.
And even if you have one person in your core group, but it's a person that you truly believe tells it how it is, that really celebrates you. I love this. I'd rather be with one person that celebrates me than a room full of people that just tolerate me.
Mm.
Like, I'm full of platitudes today or something. I don't know.
No, that's great. I mean, that's why we're here today in
Okay.
this episode is to, share and learn, and maybe relearn some things. Uh, and to hear them from you that you're actually applying those in your life is great. That's the story. Um, I love when you told the frog story, the voice you used for the little frog.
Well, actually, I've done a voiceover,
Okay,
and
so you've done voiceovers before?
well, I have a reel at the Wildemar Movie Ranch. I did the book The Rainbow Fish because it had 5 different voices, but
Oh, very cool. I love that.
I
My
would go
dad
to,
used to do that. He
oh,
would play all the different parts, and oh man, that's where I got my love of stories, was when
was
my dad would tell. He would every year he would tell, like, he would read A Christmas Carol, the whole book, and
oh,
and
I
he
love that.
he he'd do all the voices, and
Love
I mean
that.
it was, I
Oh,
didn't know how lucky I was to get that, really.
right.
But it gave me such an appreciation for listening to stories and learning. So So you've done that too. You've actually gone out and told stories and with voices. What
To
inspires you
schools,
to
to
do that?
schools. But if I can step away from the camera 1 minute, I think you'll get a kick out of this.
Okay. So
I'm
yeah,
coming.
Heidi's going to share something cool with us. I'm
I'm coming
excited.
right now, but just give me
Such an
1 second.
amazing woman.
Okay. Okay. Now,
Hello. Who's this?
this is George.
Hi, George.
George and I have done the Promenade Mall from like November through December. It was a couple of years ago. I mean, I was working on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and all those kids that are crying in the line to see Santa Claus,
Right.
hops around and around. You know, the food court, I did both levels up and down, 8-hour days,
Oh
entertaining
my.
with George.
Okay.
Okay, no, George, I told you, don't suck your thumb. Yes, I think he's cute too, but I think he's married. Okay, but anyway, so
George, you rascal, you.
it doesn't matter, you know, if, like I said, if it does also, here's another thing, like I wanted to write children's stories. And I've
Yeah.
got 69 of them published, you know, magazines, books, and stuff.
You've got 69 children.
In magazines and newspapers, and yes.
Been busy.
Yes. And if you go online to Amazon and you type in Professor Kidsbury, like a library, but a kidsbury, you'll see 5 books that I wrote and illustrated.
Say it again for me, please.
Well, the first word is professor. And the second word is kidsbury, Kidsbary.
Oh, like a kid's library.
Yeah, and you can just Google me and I'll come up too.
So the grape that tried to?
Oh, there's one book, The Grape That Tried to Escape.
Okay, I'm going to share this on the screen. Hang on.
Okay. Yeah, there should be 5 little books there. Yeah, there they are.
Okay, cool. So these are Professor, is that your
that's my pen name, like, you know, Dr. Seuss. He was really Theodore Geisel, but he called himself Dr. Seuss. So I'm Heidi Simmons, but my pen name is Professor Kidsbury. Like if you went to the regular Google and just typed in Professor Kidsbury, you'd see, you know, the thing. But anyway, so yeah, so those are my little illustrations.
So you did these illustrations too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so special. That's awesome.
Thank you.
The grape that tried to escape.
And they're in prose, like they rhyme, but like Starbird is not in prose, you know, and then like The Great Fuzz Hunt is not in prose, but like I've got the gum stuck to my shoes blues is. So I mean, you know, it depends. I write both ways.
Mm-hmm. The smile that saved a town. Oh, wonderful. I'm curious because I've got, as you know, my little granddaughter.
Oh, what's her age?
She's about what, 15 months now, I think.
Oh, how adorable. What a great age.
Something like that. But I'm getting these for her. Because I get to read. I want to read stories to her.
They're not
just like
paper.
I did with my dad did with me.
They're Kindle. They're ebooks.
Oh, they are. Okay.
There are
That's
ebooks.
great.
Okay. There is a website called prayables.com. And
Prayables.com. And what is that about?
That's prayers for women of all faiths. And when they were
I'm going to
first
share
starting
that.
out, when they were first starting out, yeah, I have prayers on there that I did for women. That's you know.
And this is your site?
No, I have my own site, but this site is prayables.com. It's for women that need prayer, and then they can look up. They can look me up.
So you write for this one?
What I would write prayers for them, like, you know, non-denomination. Like if your mother has Alzheimer's, and I would kind of write a story prayer, and then at the end, it always asks God to help. So that is something that, you know, I've enjoyed doing. I had a story printed in Ladies' Home Journal about spending a month with a stranger that had cancer. And we never
Yeah.
met, and I went across the United States. So I've had some just really interesting experiences. I've been blessed with that.
Yeah. How do you, it seems like that's a trend in your life that happens, that just is in your flow. Does that make sense?
Well, to me, there's no such word as retirement. I mean, I'm just saying, like, what retirement? It's like when I hear that word, that means like retire from life. I mean, it's like you do life, but everybody's different. And I'm not saying my road just works for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. It's just that after I do something, I just want to do something else, something new. I want to make a difference. And like I said, my latest thing is hospice, that I would really, I see it as a national movement, taking the fear out of dying. So, but
What's
and
your vision for that? Tell me about it.
that when a person goes into hospice, they're also asked if they would like hospice, and that would be again for people that are afraid to die. Now maybe only 6 out of 10 people want it, or 5 out of 10, but
Mm-hmm.
that would be covered like hospice. And then
Okay.
people that are trained in the program would go to that person's, whether they're in a home, a hospital, whatever, they'd have to be verbal at that point and be
Mm-hmm.
able to listen and to go through the experience of guided imagery and all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
then as they become nonverbal, you see that smile on their face because they're not afraid anymore. They're actually excited. It's like that's the biggest journey we're going to take, and we don't prepare for it.
And when you say journey,
Mentally, I should say. I mean, I just want to say we plan our directives, and we plan our estates, and we plan
right?
celebrations of life, but we mentally don't prepare for it ourselves.
So help me understand that. What does that mean when you say it's a journey after you've died, you pass away? It's the beginning of a journey. Help me understand that. Because
Okay, okay. I'm just going to say, remember how we used to call when a person died, we used to say we're going to a funeral. Now we
right.
say we're going to a celebration of life.
Okay.
So eventually we're not going to say, oh, John died. We're going to say, oh, 12 midnight, John
Okay.
transition
So
because
transition is it's like dying. It's like
it's
you
pretty
cease to
final.
exist
That's
everywhere
pretty,
and you're
yes,
gone, right?
that's right. You're
Poof.
pretty
But
final.
when you say the word transition to me, it's going from one, it's like going from vapor to water and from water to ice. Your transition, those are transitions, right? And there's
Yes,
processes that happen and they're the same element, water, but they're in different states.
right. Like
Is
Helen,
that is that a kind of
well, because what I say, Helen Keller, who's my go-to person, everybody's go-to person in their life. I mean,
mm-hmm,
Helen, she couldn't see, she can talk, and she couldn't hear. Look what she accomplished. She's like my
right?
go-to person. But what Helen said about death was all dying is going from one room to another.
Mm,
That's her quote about death. And so we're transitioning, we're getting a different body. Our soul is still with us, and we're getting this amazing new body that can do, go through walls or whatever. And we're going to be reunited with people we love. It's going to be incredible. If you read people that have had near death experiences, or even the Bible about, scripture about what's waiting for us.
mm-hmm.
And but yet we don't plan for that. We don't talk about it. Like we just don't mention it. It's the elephant in the room and nobody talks about it. In other words, when you go to Cabo, you probably decide, oh, where are you going to stay? What are you going to pack and wear? Where are you going to eat? What should you take along? Whatever. You're packing for the trip.
Right.
But, but for our to transition into eternity, we're not we're not planning. We're planning for people here that we're leaving behind, that
Right.
everything be, tidy and all ends, loose ends tied. But we're not planning mentally for our transition. And I think because when you don't know something, when you fear something, then you're afraid of it. But knowledge is a powerful thing. So the more you know, the less you fear. And so
Okay.
if someone,
That makes total sense. Is
yes,
there anything in your um, perception of this transition that has to do with quantum?
oh, quantum. Okay. Quantum physics. Okay. My friend Tom could talk hours about that.
Okay, I
You know,
figured.
we could talk about, and I love time travel, by the way. I mean, we could talk about that, and about is something like I'm sitting right here in front of you, but is something
Mhm.
going on right now in the same space?
Right.
Or are there identical Heidi's other places? I hope not. But, but, uh, because then uh, you have God and you have the universe
Hmm.
and you have what is tangible, what you can see and hold.
Hmm.
Of course, the hereafter is you can't see and hold it. People
Right.
can tell you about it that they had a near death experience. I had quite a few near death experiences. That's why I know that there is another side.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't think I could be so impassioned about it.
I
But
had one when I was a kid. I was like
oh,
5 years old.
yeah,
I and we were on a road trip. I was in the back of the station wagon and I was looking out the window and we were on a mountain road and my dad made this corner and he turned a little, he was making it a little tight and there was a little margin of dirt and then a sheer drop off.
okay,
So I looked down that sheer drop off and I imagined us falling down this ravine into, to sheer death, certain death. And my life passed in front of my eyes at 5 years old. I still remember it like it was yesterday. And it was so amazing to me. It's like, it just like that quick, everything was there. I mean, everything is recorded and can play it back and your brain and maybe the universe just like gave you that little mind dump there. Um, can't imagine what it would be like after 65 years now. Maybe take a little longer, but it was an impactful experience for me. I learned from that my brain is more than I think it is. And I've always had the curiosity to explore that. So I've learned a bit about quantum. I've learned a bit about now, the universe and the energy and black space and all the latest theories on that. And then, Einstein saying, describing quantum as a spooky happening at a distance. And it's real. Even Einstein, back in his day, they recognized it as something. And nowadays, it's taken for granted that, yes, it exists. And they're creating experiments that are actually repeatable that prove it. So there's no mystery and it's backed by science, whatever that means, but it's right. And but it's something to address. And I think it's something that we have as an opportunity to learn about while we're on this journey here before we start our next journey. That's my thought. Um,
yes.
how do you help people prepare for that transition?
Oh, well, like I said, if I was visiting, example, you, and you were just say you were in the dying process, but you were verbal, you had a couple of weeks to live, and
Hmm.
and I was told you wanted to see me because you had a deep fear of dying, that there wasn't anything.
Right.
And
Okay.
so I would come to you and I would probably ask you first what your faith is, and you would tell me. And well, just for all intents and purposes, just say you said you were Christian. Okay. So then I would read you some different scriptures from the Bible that all talked about eternity, you know,
Mm.
have lots of mansions. And if this wasn't true, I wouldn't be telling you about it. You know, I would tell you all the different scriptures. Okay. And then I would read to you excerpts from different doctors, real scientists, and lay people that were in comas or had near-death experiences, and how they went to the other side and what they saw and felt.
Mm.
Then I would have you relax, just say in your bed, and I would do a guided imagery, like I was explaining before, how about what it feels like. Like, well, first of all, for example, like say Mary is here and she's old and she's dying. And she starts to talk in front of her daughter, Susan. And she's
Mm-hmm.
telling her how her sister, Sandra, is in the room. And, now her daughter can either be fearful of that, okay, very fearful, and just say, oh, Mom, you're hallucinating, Aunt, Mary isn't here at all. But at the same time, she could say, oh, really? Well, what is Aunt Mary wearing? She's
Mm.
saying to you, Mom. So do angels come? Absolutely. There's crowded rooms sometimes when people die. There's visitations of angels, spiritual beings. In fact, which is very common when people are in the process of transitioning. They'll look up in the corner of a room, like a corner by the ceiling, and it's like a portal. They see like it opening and getting bigger and bigger and bigger with a bright light. This is very common. But I would
Mm.
talk to you about that. Then I would say, would you like to know what it feels like when your soul leaves the body? And then according to my readings and according to what I've gone through, I would try to make you feel that, so you're very comfortable with it, and about who might come, and about maybe the tunnel, and or the black and the white light at the distance, and the warm air, and it's so peaceful and there's no pain and you're not afraid. And we would talk about this. Maybe I would do even Reiki on you to relax you.
Mm.
Point is, when I got done, because we maybe do the guided imagery 3 or 4 times, you couldn't wait. You weren't afraid when you started to feel like that, because you know what was coming: eternity and God and people that you missed and loved. And a whole new life awaits you on the other side.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, the time that we've got is about up.
Yes.
I thank you so much for being
Oh,
on the show. I have
my pleasure.
one more question. You have
Yeah.
time?
Yes. And my pleasure, by the way, for allowing me to be a guest on your show. Thank you. I
Oh,
so enjoyed it.
totally my pleasure. It's the Here's my question.
Mhm.
Of all taking into consideration your whole experience, your whole life experience,
Oh, wow.
it's it's and this is another tough one, so maybe. Um,
I don't know if I can answer it.
sure you can. It's simple. It's what was what was the boldest leadership decision that you made, and what were the consequences?
Is that like when I was a leader over other people? I'm trying to understand your question.
Well, okay, great. I thank you for helping, to clarify that. It's my definition of a leader is, hey, we all lead ourselves. So the first thing that we lead, even if we're leading a team, is us. I lead me first. So I'm always working on becoming a better me, right? So the decisions made could apply, and to answer this question, could apply to anything in your life. Could apply to a decision you made personally to make a decision on your mindset, or it could be a decision that you made that affected your family, or a decision that you made affecting a business you were interested in or working with. So
Oh,
it, it
okay.
it's very general.
Okay.
So we're looking for the most challenging, most difficult decision you had to make.
Well,
And at one point or another in your career, in your life? And what were the consequences of making that decision?
See, and I'm just saying, I can talk about, and I want to say this about like helping a stranger or uh, even going through divorce with a young child, right? Or I
Mm-hmm.
can talk about, defining moments in my life. But when I think about leadership or what defines me, what has molded me
Mm-hmm.
all these years is to learn to embrace forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, there's nobody in my life I have to forgive. Are there people that have like maybe not treated me as well as I would like them to? Yes. But do I forgive them? Absolutely. I it's if you can't learn to embrace forgiveness, then nothing is really going to work in your life because it might look beautiful in the center, but all the edges are rusty. You need to learn to forgive. And forgiving is not just about other people. That's not the big one. The big one is forgiving yourself for everything you said or did or thought you said or did in your life. And like as you say, I never say I'm getting older. I just say I'm living longer. So as I live longer, there's a lot more to forgive. I say, Heidi, I so forgive yourself. Forgive ourselves because we're human. We're not perfect, you know, and also forgive anybody who's trespassed against you, because how can you move forward if you got all that stuff hanging off of you? So once you learn to embrace forgiveness, there's nothing holding you back. Because when you forgive, then you know what gets tossed out with it? Regret. And when regret gets tossed out, you take fear along with it. So you're just a happy camper. You're left in a really good place.
Love it. Ah, great. Thank you
Okay.
so much for sharing.
No, you're welcome. And again, thank you for having me on the show. Do I just walk away now from the screen? No.
Well,
I
hang
don't know.
on a sec. We'll say goodbye.
Okay.
Stop the recording and then we'll have a
Hi,
little
this
chat.
has been great. Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. And
Thanks,
I hope to
Heidi.
see you at Nest.
Okay. Well, let's chat about that.
Okay. Oh, now?
And
No.
yeah. So I'll stop the recording and then we'll chat.
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks again, Jim.
Thank you. Thanks, Heidi. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you.